yet. Come on with it. This is the time to settle. This is the time to settle, NFL. This is the time to settle. Hold on. This is the time to settle.
The next best opportunity would be after the NFL loses on its motion for summary judgment, if it does, because that's when the NFL's facing a trial. And through the process, there will be a requirement to submit the mediation where a third party comes in and tries to work out a deal. It's not mandatory to do a deal. It is mandatory to participate and participate in good faith.
Mm-hmm.
And plenty of cases settle. Most cases settle. Chances are this one will settle. But here's the key. Regardless of whether talks have already happened, whether they happen pre-discovery, whether they happen post-motion for summary judgment, whether they happen on the courthouse steps, first day of trial, during the trial, after the evidence, before, whenever it happens, Brian Flores is going to have to ask himself, what will it take to get me to give up this case that is bigger than me? I got a tiger by the tail.
He does.
Am I going to pull as hard as I can? Or is there something the tiger can offer me?
No. Listen, when the Supreme Court denied the NFL's request for arbitration, forget the tiger by the tail. Brian Flores has a dragon by the neck. Forget a tiger. Oh, I'm finna chop this one up. Forget a tiger by the tail. Brian Flores has a dragon by the neck in the NFL. Let's continue.
Will get me to let go. And it's easy to take a stand on principle when there's no offer on the table. Once they start putting money on the table, it changes.
It does changes.
Once you start talking to your spouse and your family members about
crazy
what
money.
That money means.
Yes.
Talk to your accountant, lawyer, investment professionals. And that pile keeps getting larger and larger and larger.
I told you. Listen.
One thing to say, I'm never settling the case.
Listen. So let's just say, worst case scenario, if Brian Flores didn't think out of the box and say, hey, I'm going to amend this lawsuit, but I'm just going to keep it 100 million. Once the NFL, like I said this before, when the NFL comes knocking and says, we want to settle out of court, his lawyers, even if, listen to me, y'all, listen, I'm giving you knowledge. If the NFL comes knocking to Brian Flores and he didn't request an increase in his punitive damages, that's when his lawyers can say, hey, Brian, we didn't request an additional of punitive damages. Hey, guess what? The NFL want to settle for this amount. No, we're going to say you got to go higher. You got to go higher. And guess what the NFL is going to do? They're going to go higher. Brian Flores, let me say it again, does not have a tiger by the tail. He has a dragon by the throat. Oh my gosh. They're going to settle.
It's another thing to say no to an offer that ends it all right now. You can take it now, or we can do this for another 5 years. It's already been 4 years and multiple months, and we're just moving out of square one.
And that's why I said he needs to go ahead $500 to $800 million, because this case is 4 years old. That lawyer, just like the Shiloh Sanders case, and any legal law firm, hey, they continue to build. Even if they send out an email, they're billing you. If they send out a letter, they billing you. Even if they have to talk to someone or talk to a court clerk, they billing you. That's why I say $100 million is nothing when you're going against the NFL, because think about what your legal team, and mind you, he just doesn't have a lawyer. He has a legal team. $100 million is on the low end. But trust me, if he has not requested an increase of punitive damages, I hope his lawyer, NFL, we ain't selling no more for $100 million if they forgot to do this. Now, we'll settle for $600 million. What Tony Talks Vested Up, that's pushing it. No, it ain't. What Tony Talks Vested Up, that's being greedy. I almost said something unprofessional here. That is not. You know why I say that? Investors and viewers, and I'm gonna play the video. But you know why I say this? I would still even say 500 to 600 to 800 million dollars is not enough. You want me to show you why? I'm gonna leave it right there. But y'all saw my last live. The NFL just last year, they grossed over $23 billion. They grossed it over $23 billion in 1 year. And for everybody that's watching this live and saying that I'm talking crazy, that's when I said, go back to my live. Go back to my live. I said, really, if Brian Flores really want to get that money just like the NFL want to get that money, go ahead and say, I'm increasing my punitive damage to $1.5 billion. And I still say that's not enough. In 1 year, they grossed $23 billion. 1 year, one year. And you trying to tell me $1.5 billion is too much when last year, and I brought it up, when last year each team got $450 million apiece. Do the math. That means out of the 32 teams, let's say they settle out of court for $1.5 billion. Just to do some quick math. And if each team got about, let's say $430 million, that means really only 4 teams out of the NFL, let's just say, don't get a check next year. What is that? That's nothing. $1.5 billion lawsuit for Brian Flores. That's life-changing money. But Lord, but the NFL would be okay. If the NFL once again generates $23 billion in revenue, that's nothing. They will recoup that Brian Flores lawsuit settlement agreement, especially with $100 million. They will recoup that in about, let's say the Super Bowl alone, if that. I'm pretty sure they garnish more than $1.5 billion, definitely $100 million on Super Bowl alone. It's not going to hurt the NFL. So Brian Flores, I hope you and your local team has already requested that, or when the NFL come knocking at your door, you increase that amount. Get your money, Brian Flores. Now I'm going to play this video, and I'm going to let y'all go.
How much longer does Brian Flores have to wait for his day in court? That's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no formula. There's no button you can press to tell you what to do, but there's a number that Brian Flores likely won't say no to.
Ooh.
That's one of the dynamics here. Now, it may take more. His posture may get him some extra money.
Come on with it.
Get him some extra compensation.
Come
some
on with
extra
it.
Justice from the league. If they think he's going to say no to what maybe someone else would say yes to.
I just said this.
You know, Jim Trotter had the tiger by the tail after he was let go by NFL Network because he had the audacity to ask the commissioner about diversity in the NFL Network newsroom at consecutive Super Bowl press conferences. How dare you do that?
What?
He ended up settling, and my guess is he wasn't going to settle, and then they made him an offer he couldn't refuse.
Oh.
The good kind, not the we'll kill you if you don't take it kind.
Uh-huh.
So that's the dynamic here. What will it take to get Brian Flores to settle? And once the class is certified and it becomes an official class action, it also becomes harder to settle because you got to settle the class too. And that's got to be approved, and that's a cumbersome process. I've been involved in those. You send out notice to all of the class members. They have an opportunity to opt out. You can't just say, I'm cashing out, I'm done. See you later. Oh, they're offering me that much money? All right, I'm abandoning this obligation I've assumed on behalf of all people similarly situated to me who have undergone the same indignities I have.
Good point.
The mere fact that Brian Flores pursued as a class action would tell you he's not going to be inclined to give this up cheaply.
Amen.
So, we don't settle.
He said cheaply. He's not going to be inclined to give this up. And for $100 million, if this is a class lawsuit, the way he just broke it out, that means there's multiple people behind the scenes that got to get paid and get their money. Brian Flores, $1.5 billion. Everybody eats. Everybody eats. Like I said, you got the dragon by the throat. Oh my gosh.
The motion for summary judgment is denied. The case is eventually going to go to trial. And it'll be an open court. Now, because it's in federal court, there won't be TV cameras.
Oh,
I think the general rule is no TV cameras in federal court.
Dang.
Nationwide, with no discretion, no ability to waive it.
Dang.
And you build the case, you present the case, and it's going to be cumbersome. Look, the NFL is going to want to hold Flores, Wilkes, and Horton together. If you're the lawyer, you want to have 3 separate bites at the apple. You want to have 3 different trials. But man, it becomes a lot more cumbersome if you're trying the same case 3 times. It's going to make sense to do all 3 guys in one case. You can have a lot of witnesses, a lot of documents.
Yes.
I don't know. It's probably a 3 or 4 week trial.
Yes.
And then you get a verdict.
Mm-hmm.
And there'll be appeals after that.
Right.
And this process could last at least another 4 years. It could last another 7 years.
True.
If this thing goes all the way through to a trial and appeals all the way up to the top of the federal government, which is back to the U.S. Supreme Court. So I think that's it in a nutshell. I think I've gotten everything. One last point that I didn't make as it relates to settlement. And this is another reason why this is an occasion to settle the case.
Come on with it.
Remember the St. Louis litigation? $790 million paid by the NFL and the Rams, and I think the Rams ended up paying the bulk of that $790 million after the Rams lied their way out of St. Louis. And I fear no defamation claim. It's documented they lied about why they purchased, why Stan Kroenke bought the land in Inglewood. Kevin Demoff lied through his teeth about this notion that, that's not for a football stadium, until they built the football stadium and left. That settlement happened after the NFL tried to force the case to arbitration and lost at the Supreme Court level.
Like now.
The decision not to take up.
Like now.
Now, I think there was more discovery and it was inching toward trial. But once you lose that arbitration question and you're going to have an open court trial.
Like now.
It becomes prudent to ask yourself, should we just
settle,
cash out of this thing? And as part of it, this gets very delicate from a negotiating standpoint. One outcome is you get a coaching job as part of this negotiation, but that's awkward to do.
Yeah.
Another possibility is they buy him out and he leaves the Vikings and never coaches again. That
1.5
they made a giant pile of money, and
1.5 billion.
They are done with Brian Flores. They are out of the Brian Flores business. They didn't have.
Hey, let me tell you one thing. I know I said I'm gonna let this play. It's almost over. Let me tell you one thing. If they want Brian Flores to settle and also leave the game and his career, Brian, definitely $1.5 billion, because that means, Brian, you would be walking away from your current position, your love for the game, your love for the coach. You have to consider that is worth also a monetary value. Brian Flores and his legal team, please consider that and times that by 30. That's why I said that $100 million that he initially requested. I didn't even know that all of that, the lawsuit, the case, and he was representing other people. That is chump change. That is chump change. And listen, you know why that's chump change? When you got the dragon by the throat, because if they settle, I forgot who they said they settled for $790 million. Do you see why I said $100 million? That was on the low end. That's probably why they didn't take it seriously. But if they paid somebody $790 million, right, from a team that lied about moving the stadium, right, Brian, you got evidence of retaliation, hostile work environment, illegal hiring practices, racial discrimination, and you only go for $100 million when somebody won $790 because of a field being relocated. $1.5 billion. Easy. And you got several people in this lawsuit. Easy. Let me go ahead. Let me go ahead.
Do that with Colin Kaepernick. When they settled his collusion case, they didn't buy out his employment rights. And that's not uncommon. You agree that you will never apply for, never employment with this company. You will never darken the doorstep again. That's how the lawyers referred to that clause.
This is why I also said that Brian Flores should ask for more money. I'll say $1 billion. $1 billion. Right? And then also, we'll talk about this more tomorrow. And then also, did you hear him say that he's surprised that Colin Kaepernick has not sued the NFL again? I said, what? He said that he's surprised that Colin Kaepernick has not sued the NFL again because I don't want to misspeak. I'm going to hear it again. But y'all heard what that man said about Colin Kaepernick. But I don't want to misspeak again. As y'all can see, the sun has risen. I can't believe y'all been with me. It was dark here when I started. Now the sun done came back up over here. So I definitely need to go to bed. But damn, that was good. Mike Florio. Oh, that was good. Jesus. Let me listen. Thank you, Lady PC. And Destin, just being attentive. What you said, Brian needs to put the back. I do agree with you. If he is going to settle, yes, thank you for putting that out there, Gemini. If he is going to settle, I would say, I will settle for this amount and with these conditions. You're right. Because as he stated, Brian Flores has been fighting this case for the last 4 to 5 years. So just don't get your money, yes, but don't let it be in vain. Because if you settle just for the money and nothing is rectified, that means, yeah, you got your money, but how did it benefit the community? How did it benefit the other Black coaches that have dreams of being NFL head coaches? How did this benefit the community? Yes, get your money, Brian Flores, but as Gemini said, put something in that settlement agreement where the NFL has to hire other Black coaches. If not, this time is in vain. But thank you for that. Thank you for that, Gemini.